Shalom, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. All right. So this subject is continuation from the book of Jasher. This is going to be about Nimrod's life growing up, how Nimrod was raised from when he was a baby up until the time he started ruling over ancient Babylon. So this is going to be taking place in the book of Jasher, chapter 7, verses 23 to 51. Um, the first part of chapter 7, from like verse 1 to verse 22, it's simply not needed to read for this subject. This is just about, this begotten this, talking about like generations and stuff like that. So, just to summarize for regarding that, Nimrod is obviously the son of Cush, which is the son of Ham, which is the son of Noah. So, like that's just easy right there. All right. So, now I am going to start reading. And this message is very, very critical because obviously, as most of you may know watching this video, Nimrod was actually a ruler of the ancient Babylon. And so we're going to see how he was raised and how he became the way he was, basically. And it makes total sense why he became prideful and stuff. So now now I'm going to start reading verse 23 of chapter 7 in the book of Jasher. And Cush, son of Ham, son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bore a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, and at that time the sons of men began to rebel and transgress against Yahuwah. And as the child grew up, his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age. And the garments of skin which Yahuwah has made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush. And after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to Yahuwah, he gave them to Methuselah, his son. And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them in the ark, and they were with him until he went out of the ark. And at their going out, Ham stole the garments from Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers. Now that is bad, of course. And when Ham brought forth his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret, and they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had brought forth Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. As Nimrod grew up, and when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments. And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and Yahuwah gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter on the earth, and he was a mighty hunter in the field. And he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered the animals upon them before Yahuwah. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from among his brothers, and he fought the battles of his brothers against all their enemies round about. And Yahuwah delivered all the enemies of his brothers into his hands, and Yahuwah prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned on the earth. Therefore it became common in those days when a man sent out those he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like Yahuwah did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles and prevailed against his brothers, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies, so may Yahuwah strengthen us and deliver us this day. And when Nimrod was 40 years old, at that time there was a battle between his brothers and the children of Japheth, and they were in the power of their enemies. And Nimrod went forth at that time, and he assembled all the sons of Cush and their clans, about 460 men. And he also hired about 80 men and some of his friends and acquaintances, and he gave them their wage, and he went with them to battle. And when he was on the way to Nimrod, strengthened the hearts of the people that went with him. And he said to them, do not fear, neither be alarmed, for all our enemies will be delivered up into our hands, and you may do with them as you please. And all the men that went were about 500, and they fought against their enemies, and they destroyed them and subdued them. And Nimrod placed standing officers over them in their respective places. And he took some of their children as security, and they were all servants to Nimrod and to his brothers. And Nimrod and all the people that were with him turned homeward. And when Nimrod had joyfully returned from battle, after having conquered his enemies, all his brothers together with those who knew him before assembled to make him sovereign over them, and they placed a royal crown upon his head. And he appointed over his subjects as people, princes, judges, and rulers, as is the custom among sovereigns. And he placed Terah the son of Nahor in the place of his army, and he honored him and elevated him above all his princes. And while he was reigning according to his heart's desire, after having conquered all his enemies around, he advised with his counselors to build a city for his palace, and they did so. And they found a large valley opposite to the east, and they built him a large and extensive city. And Nimrod called the city that he built Shinar, for Yahuwah has spiritually shaken his enemies and destroyed them. And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned safely and fought with his enemies, and he subdued them, and he prospered in all his battles, and his reign became very great. All nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings, and he became their master and sovereign, and they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and were all under his power and counsel. And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of Yahuwah, and he was more wicked than all the men that were before him from the days of the flood until these days. And he made mighty ones of wood and stone, and he bowed down to them, and he rebelled against Yahuwah, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways. And Mardon his son was more wicked than his father. And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardon the son of Nimrod would say concerning him, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked goes forth wickedness. And it was common in the words of men at that from that time to this. And Terah the son of Nahor, the prince of Nimrod's army, was in those days very great in the sight of the sovereign and his subjects. And the sovereign and the princes loved him, and they raised him very high. And Terah took a wife, and her name was Amthilo, the daughter of Cornabo. And the wife of Terah conceived, and bore him a son in those days. And Terah was 70 years old when he brought him forth, and Terah called the name of his son that was born to him Abram, because the sovereign has raised him up in those days and honored him above all his princes. that were with him. Obviously, that was Abram. That was Abraham's name before it changed to Abraham, of course. So, yep. So that is it for chapter 7 in the book of Jasher, from verse 23 to the end of the chapter. So that is, so you notice the reason Nimrod became so wicked, so powerful in rulership and being the ruler over the whole earth and everything is because Nimrod, he kept growing up, he kept winning battles, he kept like defeating others, he kept just he was becoming so prideful and puffed up because of all his accomplishments, to a point where everyone wanted him to rule over because of all of his accomplishments and giving himself the esteem against Yahuwah, of course. So that is it for how Nimrod was raised and how Nimrod became the way he was when he ruled ancient Babylon. Obviously, it was called Shinar before Babylon. It wasn't called Babylon until after the tower was destroyed and all the languages were scattered. But it was called Shinar while everyone still had one language. So obviously, this is it for this subject. Hope you all enjoyed this, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, shalom, everyone.